Boss dares a rural simple woman to fix an impossible engine. What she fixes blows their minds. Before we dive into this breathtaking story, leave a comment below telling us which city and country you're watching us from. Stay tuned until the end. Clara's everyday life. Clara Mayfield woke up before sunrise on her small farm in rural Kansas. Life there was hard, without luxuries, but full of responsibilities. She cared for her sick mother, kept the animals, and repaired the machines that ensured the family's survival. She was constantly short of money, but she never lacked willpower. As a child, Clara learned the basics of mechanics and electrical engineering from her father. He died when she was still a teenager, leaving behind a silent legacy of practical knowledge. Unable to afford to study at a technical school, Clara taught herself, tinkering with old engines and broken objects. Her reputation as the girl who fixes everything grew among her neighbors. Despite the local respect, Clara felt the weight of prejudice. Many saw her as just a poor young woman from the countryside, incapable of understanding the modern world. She knew she would have to prove herself over and over again to be taken seriously. This conviction kept her going, even in the face of general skepticism. That morning, while making coffee, Clara heard the strange sound of a helicopter approaching. She looked out the window and saw an unknown aircraft crash landing on the ground. Something about that event would change the course of her life forever. The engine that doesn't work. Clara had the farm's old tractor in her hands, which urgently needed repairs to ensure the year's harvest. She spent hours disassembling it and trying to identify the problem, but the main engine part had completely broken. Without the money to buy a new one, her desperation grew. Clara's lack of formal education was never an impediment, but her technical knowledge seemed insufficient. Still, she did not give up. She looked for alternative solutions, improvising with reused parts and experimenting with adjustments. Hope was her only companion. As she struggled against the machine, Clara felt the pressure of time. The crops depended on that tractor to be harvested before the first frosts arrived. Each engine failure was a silent defeat, but she remained determined. The poor young woman from the countryside would not give up easily. It was at this moment that the Ether Dynamics helicopter landed nearby. The confusion and impact of the emergency landing caught Clara's attention, who felt a mixture of curiosity and apprehension about what was about to happen. The arrival of the aircraft. The experimental helicopter, with its futuristic design, contrasted with the simplicity of the farm. Out stepped Logan Hartwell, a 45-year-old man, CEO of Ether Dynamics, with an arrogant look and an imposing posture. He was accompanied by his team of engineers, all wearing lab coats and using tablets. They were there for a routine inspection that unexpectedly turned into an emergency. The helicopter's engine developed a serious failure during flight, forcing a forced landing. Logan surveyed the landscape with disdain, aware that his time and resources were being wasted in this remote location. The group's arrival did not go unnoticed by the community. Residents and neighbors gathered, some curious, others suspicious. Clara watched everything from a distance, feeling that this event would be important, although she did not know exactly how. Despite their formal cordiality, the team treated Clara and the residents as inferior beings, reflecting the arrogance typical of those who live in large cities. The young woman felt the weight of the contempt, and knew at that moment that she would have to fight hard to make her voice heard. Disdain and provocation engineers pored over the aircraft's engine, analyzing each component with sophisticated equipment. They spent days trying to understand what had caused the failure, but the results were frustrating. The engine remained inoperative and the pressure was increasing. Logan, impatient and irritated, did not hide his disdain. In a conversation with his team, he made a point of belittling Clara, who was discreetly observing the work. She may be able to work on old tractors, but she doesn't understand anything about these complex machines, he said mockingly. Hearing this, Clara felt a mixture of anger and determination. She knew she couldn't let herself be intimidated, especially by someone who had never set foot on a farm or understood what it was like to struggle to survive on little. She decided that she would prove her worth no matter how much they tried to underestimate her. Logan's provocation worked like an unexpected fuel. Clara approached him and firmly said that if no one could fix that engine, she would accept the challenge. The silence that followed showed that no one expected that. The challenge accepted. Clara wasted no time. She grabbed her simple tools and began examining the engine with meticulous attention. To the engineers, her method seemed amateurish, but she knew that practical experience was worth more than any degree in extreme situations. She identified flaws that had gone unnoticed by sophisticated equipment. Her attentive eye noticed details that no one dared to investigate. The broken parts, the fittings out of place. Everything indicated that the engine had been poorly maintained and poorly designed. As she worked, Clara used whatever she had at hand, repurposed pieces, wires, and a lot of creativity. Her poor background had taught her to improvise and find non-standard solutions. The engineers watched in silence, suspicious, but curious. With her growing confidence, Clara did not let the criticism shake her. She knew the challenge was great, but her determination was greater. If she could get that engine running, it would not only change everyone's opinion, but also her own life. The first sign of life. After hours of continuous work, Clara made the final adjustments. With a firm gesture, she activated the engine. To everyone's surprise, the engine responded with a low roar, showing signs of functioning for the first time since the forced landing. The atmosphere, previously filled with doubt and disdain, fell silent at that unexpected sound. The engineers exchanged surprised glances, unable to explain the feat of that poor young woman who seemed to have just reinvented the wheel. Mason Wu, the chief engineer, was the first to approach and wordlessly nodded respectfully to Clara. Logan, although he tried to hide it, felt the impact of that moment. He knew he had underestimated someone who did not fit his elitist standards. Clara felt a mixture of relief and pride, but she remained focused. This was just the beginning, and I knew there was still much more to be done. The engine worked, but it needed more rigorous testing, and she was ready to move on. Media attention. The video of the engine running, recorded by one of the engineers, quickly went viral on the internet. People from all over the country began to follow the story of the poor young woman from the countryside who defied expectations. Clara felt the immediate impact but avoided any direct contact with the media, preferring to maintain her privacy. The pressure was increasing exponentially, with journalists wanting interviews and articles about her life and talent. Her sudden fame seemed out of control, and Clara didn't know if she was ready to deal with so much exposure. She felt torn between pride and fear of the unknown. Meanwhile, Ether Dynamics' technical team was beginning to face divided opinions. Some members began to appreciate Clara's hands-on approach, recognizing that she had real talent even without a degree. Others, however, saw her as a threat to their scientific authority and the company's hierarchy. This division created a climate of internal tension. Clara realized that despite public support, she would still face resistance within the company. The poor young woman knew that the challenge did not end with fixing the engine, but that it was only just beginning. Division in the technical team. Clara's presence at the technology center was uncomfortable. Many traditional engineers considered her methodology improvised and unscientific. Heated meetings often took place where doubts about her competence were openly expressed. Mason Wu, the chief engineer, tried to mediate the conflicts. He recognized the value of Clara's work, but he also understood his colleagues' insecurity in the face of a professional without formal academic training. The tension affected the team's productivity and created a hostile environment. On the other hand, some young technicians began to approach Clara, interested in learning her practical techniques and her innovative vision. They saw in her an opportunity to revolutionize the sector and break paradigms rooted in scientific elitism. Clara, aware of the division, maintained a firm and focused stance. She knew she would need to gain the trust of the most resistant and prove that practical knowledge was as valid as theoretical knowledge, especially for solving real problems. Unexpected invitation. Given the impact and results obtained, Clara received an official invitation to work at Ether Dynamics headquarters in Houston. The proposal included access to advanced tools, laboratory tests, and the chance to participate in the development of the experimental helicopter project. The invitation caused mixed emotions. Clara felt honored but also apprehensive. She knew that entering that corporate world would mean facing even deeper prejudices and greater challenges. The simple life in the countryside seemed very far from the new reality that was emerging. Despite her fears, Clara decided to accept the proposal. For her, the opportunity represented not only a personal advancement, but also the possibility of helping her community and proving that talent and effort do not depend on social origin. Her mother's farewell was emotional. with promises that she would return to transform the farm and the lives of the people around her. Clara left for Houston determined, with the conviction that she still had much to achieve. Under surveillance. At the company headquarters, Clara was greeted with suspicious looks and strict protocol. Her routine was monitored by supervisors and technicians who watched her every move with skepticism. She felt pressured, as if she had to prove her worth at every moment. The tests carried out on the engine were meticulous and demanding. Clara had to adapt her solutions to meet the safety and efficiency standards of modern aviation. Despite the difficulty, her practical knowledge proved essential in correcting details that the engineers had overlooked. During this time, Clara also discovered that the project was facing problems that went beyond the engine. Documents and reports indicated structural flaws and risky decisions made to reduce costs. This information shook her ethics and made her question the company's stance. Aware of the risks, Clara knew that her mission was not only technical, but also moral. She would have to decide between protecting the company or defending the safety of future passengers, a dilemma that would put her in direct conflict with her superiors. The truth comes out. As she deepened her investigation, Clara found clear evidence that the engine had been designed with flaws that would have compromised flight safety. The use of unsuitable materials and pressure to meet deadlines were responsible for the failure that nearly caused the accident. She gathered documentary evidence and wrote a detailed report explaining the risks and suggesting changes that would make the engine safe and efficient. Her courage to expose the truth, even in the face of resistance from the company, demonstrated her commitment to ethics and responsibility. The report had an immediate impact on the Ether Dynamics Board, which was faced with an internal crisis. Some members preferred to stifle the issue to preserve profits and image, while others advocated transparency and correction of errors. Clara found herself at the center of a corporate battle, dividing allies and enemies. Her humble origins and firm stance drew attention, but they also created powerful enemies. She needed strong allies to move forward. Pressures and decisions. Logan Hartwell reacted with hostility to Clara's revelations. In private meetings, he tried to discredit her, accusing her of exaggerating and putting the company's future at risk. The CEO's arrogance became even more evident, showing a ruthless side and closed to dialogue. At the same time, the media began to follow the crisis, pressing for answers and transparency. External investigations began to be considered, threatening to expose all the flaws and risks that had been hidden during the development of the project. Clara received offers to leave the company and keep quiet, but she vehemently refused. Her determination and courage earned her the respect of part of the board and some technicians, who began to support her in the search for real solutions. The moment was decisive. Clara realized that her journey went beyond the realm of mechanics and into the realm of integrity and justice. She was ready to face the consequences of her choice. The FAA's call. Given the gravity of the situation, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, invited Clara to officially collaborate in the investigation and development of a new safety standard for the engine and the aircraft. The recognition from a government agency raised its prestige to national levels. This call brought a mixture of relief and responsibility. Clara knew that her voice would now carry weight, and that her practical experience could save lives. The technical and moral challenge was growing, but she was ready to face it. At the FAA, Clara worked alongside the best experts, sharing her innovative solutions and helping to create a safe, efficient engine adapted to the real needs of experimental aviation. Her talent, previously ignored, was now valued. The poor young woman who once struggled to fix a tractor in the field became a symbol of overcoming obstacles and competence. Her journey showed that talent and courage know no social barriers. The final test. Clara knew that the real test was yet to come. The revised engine, with its corrections and improvements, would undergo an official test flight, with technicians, engineers, and aviation authorities present. This was the decisive moment to prove that her solution worked. The pressure was enormous, but the poor young woman from the countryside remained calm. Her eyes were fixed on the engine, on the machine that represented much more than technology. It symbolized her struggle, her dignity, and her ability. Everything had to work perfectly. The helicopter came to life in the hangar, with the engine roaring steadily. Clara followed every step of the preparation, ready to act if anything went wrong. The technical team was amazed at the engine's efficiency and stability. When the plane finally took off, The silence of those present revealed the intensity of the moment. The flight was going smoothly, and confidence grew with every minute in the air. It was definitive proof that talent and courage can overcome any barrier. Public recognition. The success of the flight transformed Clara into an admired and respected public figure. Invitations to lectures, interviews, and awards began to appear, extolling not only her technical ability, but her story of personal overcoming. She used this visibility to advocate for the importance of social inclusion and the recognition of practical knowledge, especially for poor young people who, like her, had much to contribute but few opportunities. Clara became an inspiring voice. At Ether Dynamics, the mood changed. Logan Hartwell, previously arrogant and resistant, had to publicly acknowledge the young woman's worth. Although pride prevented him from directly apologizing, his respect was evident in more discreet actions. Young Clara Mayfield, once underestimated and despised, now leads innovative projects proving that origins do not define anyone's talent or destiny. Changes in Ether Dynamics. Inspired by Clara's example, Ether Dynamics' board of directors implemented profound changes to the company's culture. Social inclusion and technical training programs for young people from underprivileged communities were created, expanding access to knowledge and innovation. Clara actively participated in these transformations, helping to develop projects that combined advanced technology with practical wisdom. She knew that the real impact was in opening doors for those who never had real opportunities. The workplace became more collaborative, with multidisciplinary teams that valued different types of knowledge. Innovation flourished, driven by diversity and mutual respect. Clara's story is no longer just an isolated case and has become an example for the industrial and technological sector, showing that talent can emerge from the most unexpected places. Return to the farm. Even with all the success and recognition, Clara never forgot her roots. She returned to the farm to help her mother and the local community, applying the resources and knowledge she acquired to improve everyone's quality of life. It brought new technologies adapted to the field, which made work more efficient and safe. It invested in education and infrastructure, transforming small properties into a model of sustainability and rural innovation. Clara inspired the young people of the region, showing that it doesn't matter where you come from, but what you do with the opportunities you have. Her journey became a source of pride and motivation for all who knew her. The poor young woman from the countryside proved that with courage, knowledge, and perseverance, it is possible to change one's own destiny and impact the world around her. A new beginning. With her success consolidated, Clara decided to found an institution dedicated to training young talents from the poorest regions, combining theory and practice to prepare a new generation of professionals. Her dream was to create a network of support and opportunities. She also became an international consultant, bringing her expertise to technology development projects in rural areas around the world. Her voice echoed as a symbol of social transformation and innovation. Clara Mayfield, the poor young woman from the countryside, was now synonymous with overcoming and hope. Her story inspired thousands and showed that regardless of the circumstances, willpower and true talent always find a way. The future was bright, and Clara was ready to continue her journey, inspiring and opening doors for all who, like her, dared to dream big. If you like this inspiring story and want to see more content that shows how willpower and courage can transform lives, subscribe to the channel now. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any news and share it with anyone who needs motivation to overcome challenges. Together we will prove that talent and determination have no limits.